We are now in Chapter 5 of Desjardins Introduction to Business Ethics, Aspect 2. Here we will discuss 4 values at work: instrumental, psychological, social, communal. 3 models of work will be introduced: conventional, human potential, and liberal. We're only going to get to the first 2, conventional and human potential. Liberal we'll get to in the next aspect, discussion of the chapter. We want to think about 2 questions. What kind of rights at work are supported by each of the models? And do the models treat work as an end or as a means only? So, 4 values at work. They are instrumental, psychological, social, communal. We will next examine the 4 kinds of values that are made available by work in order to continue asking our question whether work can be an end. First, there is the instrumental value. Here, work is purely a means to an end, and the value comes from psychological, social, and communal values, not of the work itself, but from those things that one can buy with income from work. So in a job, the value of work is purely instrumental. Whatever other values you get from work that are not instrumental, you get them from the income that the work produces. Right? So in the case of instrumental value, like in a job, the work is clearly not an end, but is purely a means. Right? And that is the first of the 4 values of work that we're looking at, instrumental. Second, there is the psychological value. Here, judgments and feelings of self-esteem, self-respect, fulfillment, and other such are generated by the work that one does, right? People get a sense of self-esteem, self-respect, and fulfillment when they do their work well. And that is the psychological value from work. Now, while psychological work can also be a means to an end, it helps with whatever one does in one life, it is also an end in itself. Even if it didn't lead to anything else, we would still value work for the contribution that it makes to our psychological well-being. So in the case of psychological value of work, the work is not a means to an end, but is an end. Third, there is the social value. Here, respect, honor, and companionship and friendship come from interaction with others. It's not odd to speak of the value of work as interaction with others, right? That's the social value of it. We get respect, we get honor, we get companionship and friendship from others. I mean, of course, one can do self-respect as a psychological value, but it also cannot replace the respect that one gets from others. It also cannot respect the companionship and friendship that one gets from others. So far we've got 3 values of work. Instrumental value, in which case the work is pure means to an end. Psychological value, in which case the work is an end. Social value, in which case the work is an end. Right? Social value of work would be important for us, even if it doesn't lead to anything. As human beings, we desire respect, honor, companionship, and friendship with others. Fourth, there's the communal value of work. Here, the value of work is that it satisfies the needs of the community in essential services. Bubblegum production doesn't count. It would come from working in fields such as medicine, education, law, criminal justice, environmental sustainability, etc. So 4 values of work: instrumental, psychological, social, communal. Psychological, social, and communal really place the work in the realm of an end, not merely a means to an end. In reference to our guiding question, Work that has great psychological, social, or communal value is a strong candidate for work that is an end and is intrinsically fulfilling. Well, what kind of work would you like to have? Something that is merely a job and has instrumental value only? Or would you like to have work that has all four of those kinds of values? Instrumental, psychological, social, and communal, or at least as many as possible, right? The more of these values work has, the more meaningful it is. All right, we are now ready to move on to the three models of work. They are the conventional model of viewing work, the human potential model of viewing work, and the liberal model of viewing work. We're only going to get to conventional and human potential in this session, and liberal will be covered in the next. After having discussed the various meanings and values at work, we are now able to synthesize all of them in three ethical models of work, right? Meanings, job, career, calling, values, instrumental, psychological, social, communal. Let's see how we can put these together into models of work. First, there's the conventional model. Work is viewed as an evil that is not compatible with the goals of human nature, but has to be engaged in as a necessary evil, right? These are the folks that would rather not work, would rather do as little work as possible. For them, work is an evil and it's a necessary evil that they have to engage in, but they sure wish they didn't have to. Work here is viewed as drudgery. The meaning of work here is primarily as a job, and the only value that one seeks from work, and for which one is happy to exchange all other values, is a purely instrumental value of income. Right? On the conventional model, work is just pure evil. You don't seek psychological, social, communal fulfillment there, and better to just exchange it for income and seek your psychological, social, communal fulfillment elsewhere with your family, with your friends, with your hobbies, maybe with your volunteering. Right? So that's the conventional model of work. Work is just drudgery and evil. One should do as little of it as possible, and the point would be to get as high of an income as possible so that one can work as little as possible, or be able to do as much as possible outside of work. Right? Nothing good is expected to happen at work itself, and everything that is good is what work enables outside of work. Now we're finally getting to what we're interested to think about here. Employee rights are not possible to conceive on this model, since the worker's desire to maximize their own income is no more and no less valid than the employer's desire to maximize their own income, right? So here, an employee can't really have any rights against the employer. They're both there just for the sake of maximizing their income, and there's nothing moral involved here. So in the conventional model, one is not really going to talk about any kinds of rights at work, but one would just talk about making as much income as possible. But one, of course, does not have a right to that because other people are also there to make as much income as possible. And the outcome of however much income anyone makes is just the outcome of a competition and a struggle between the employer, the employee, other employees, and other employers, right? Just a struggle, competition, nothing to talk about here as far as rights are concerned on the conventional model of work, in which work is seen as a necessary evil. Second, there's the human potential model of work. Here, work is viewed as what makes a human being develop uniquely human capacities that are necessary for happiness, such as thinking, imagination, generosity, friendliness, temperance, courage, discipline. These are the virtues that the virtue ethics talks about. The claim here is that work is a place where you develop virtues. More than that, if you miss your chance to develop these virtues at work, you aren't really going to develop them much elsewhere. It is also taken here that human beings cannot really develop these virtues outside of work at their leisure, thus not providing psychological, social, or communal work at which virtues are developed is robbing human beings of their only chance to become properly human, right? So something deeply significant and of moral importance is missed if work is not organized properly. So here, workers would have a right to the work that develops their capacities. And employers would be morally obligated to provide such workplaces. Here, work is an end, as the good of work, human development, happens right during work and can't happen anywhere else. The meaning of work here is that of career, or better yet, a calling, but the calling here really is the calling of a human being as such, not of a firefighter, not of a doctor, not of an engineer, not of an IT professional, but the calling of becoming fully a human being as such. Um, why can't one develop these virtues? Thinking, imagination, generosity, friendliness, courage, discipline outside of work during one's leisure? Well, we tend to look for the easy things during leisure. And these are not easy things to do that we would naturally seek out to do to improve our thinking, imagination, generosity, friendliness, temperance, courage, discipline. We would rather just have pleasures and enjoy ourselves during our leisure. So the only chance to really develop these is at work, where we engage in rigorous activity by means of which all of these virtues would be developed. So there would then be something like a right for the kind of work that develops these kinds of virtues. If that is the very meaning of being a human being and it can be developed nowhere else.